Newstalk ZBTV after 10, the Prime Minister. The unitary plan and the Council's unitary plan that seems to be being rebuffed by an increasing number of people who are very, very unhappy about it, very dissatisfied with it. Particularly with it being rushed through before people have a chance to really come to grips with it, although there is a bit of a surge in interest at the moment. Your thoughts?
Well, I think the first thing is that there were, if you take a step back about 3 or 4 months ago, there were people that were running around saying the government should essentially make the plan operative in September by legislation without consultation to Aucklanders. And because there had been some consultation taking place, and that effectively in legal terms means we give it more weight, and that we were the problem being the government because we were standing in the way of the Auckland Council making the plan operative and therefore getting the city moving in terms of housing and other infrastructure needs. That's not true. What is true is that it doesn't become operative until about 3 years. So Aucklanders do have a chance to feed into the process for the very reasons that you've pointed out, that it's not a slam dunk that everyone agrees with everything that's in that plan, nor can we absolutely be sure that the plan is absolutely right. And secondly, or thirdly, even if we had made it fully operative in day one, because of the way the old plans interact with that, there still would have been appeal rights and the likes. So in fact, if you're of the view that you want a fast track release of land for housing, for instance, in Auckland, I'm of that view. Just making the plan and giving it operative and giving it weighting wouldn't have fixed your problems. What is required is what we actually did in the budget and the legislation we passed that followed that, which says that if you are building something 3 stories or less, it's on a greenfield site, it's 50 properties or more, you can get full consent within 6 months, no appeal beyond that. And if it's a brownfield, 5 properties or more, 3 stories or less, you can do that within 3 months. Everything else is subject to appeal. So Aucklanders do and will have their chance to appeal or oppose.
You're an Aucklander.
Yep.
What's your reaction to it?
Well, I think the truth is we're going to have a bit of both. So I don't think this argument that the metropolitan urban limit should stay where it is and that there shouldn't be an extension of greenfield sites can hold, because any places around the world where that has happened has just simply seen land prices rise dramatically because it's a supply and demand issue. And secondly, it works on the principle that everyone wants to live in an apartment and that we all want to have this high-rise sort of look and feel. And I don't think people do want that in Auckland. So I accept that there will be brownfield developments. They're quite legitimate. And actually, I'm of the view that a lot of first home buyers, young couples, will actually go into an apartment because A, it'll suit their lifestyle, and B, it'll suit their budget. But I think putting them everywhere, all over the eastern suburbs and the North Shore and the likes, is actually not what those communities want.
Well, it's not just the North Shore and the eastern suburbs, the so-called leafy suburbs of the better off. Take Papakura as an example, where they're talking about, I think, 18-storey apartment blocks in Papakura. Yeah. Plenty of opposition to that from locals.
Absolutely. So, I mean, isn't it a combination of a bit of both? So what you need is you need to have more land being released, and that's one of the arguments. And the second thing is you need more intensification of some of the brownfield sites. And some more intensification. So you've got to have a bit of both.
But will government give it the tick as the Mayor wants?
Well, effectively, we give it a tick in so much, but it's 3 years of consultation and work that has to happen. So that doesn't stop people objecting. And you're seeing already the Mayor reacting to the public meetings that have been taking place. Can
I suggest to you, and I've said so, that I don't believe him? This is a typical political tactic. You'd be used to it. Yeah. Suggesting that I'm listening, and the minute you've got it through, then you've forgotten what you said.
But it takes 3 years though, so it's not operative for 3 years. This is the problem for Auckland. If you take a step back, you've got 1.5 million people living here. You've got 1 million people going to pour in the next 30 years.
But hang on, who says there's going to be 1 million and another million? And is it desirable that there's another million? Well, if there's no room for them, another million can't come.
We can't stop them. It's not China, is it? It's not like where they have a restriction on
no, but if there's nowhere to build, or they can't afford it, or whatever the case may be, then there's not going to be another million.
Yeah, so this is the issue here. Is I reckon there will be 1 million. Whether we sit on this show and say it's good, bad, or indifferent, I think it's going to happen. And it's going to happen because basically all of the external, a vast majority of the external and internal migration that's taking place into New Zealand is coming into Auckland. There's a number of reasons for that. It's the commercial capital. There's a lot of businesses and opportunities. But there's also, I don't know if you noticed this, but when we released the most recent report on economic performance around the country, Auckland is the second city in the world, second highest in the world. So there's only one other city in the world. There's more people living in it that weren't born in New Zealand than Auckland, and that's Vancouver. So it is a very multicultural city. So what's happening is you've got a big Chinese and Indian population, for instance, to be celebrated in my view. But when their family and friends come over, they're tending to typically come to Auckland because their communities are there. So you are going to get a lot of migration. And when you say, well, if they can't afford it, too bad, this is the problem. If you get house price escalation of the order that you're seeing at the moment, because we need 13,000 homes built a year, and at the current run rate it's 4,000 a year, interest rates eventually will go up. If they go up, this is the problem. We will be the only country in the developed world that's in a tightening cycle for interest rates. And you can imagine what the impact on the exchange rate and the rest of the economic community would be.